Support for WXAV 88.3 FM and WXAV.com is being provided by Bookies, new and used books. Bookies is an independent bookstore located at 10324 Southwestern Avenue in Chicago. They have a collection of new and used books and accept book trade-ins and donations. More information is available at bookiechicago.com and on Instagram at bookiechicago.
Thank you very much for listening to this WXAV 88.3 FM podcast. Be sure to visit our website, WXAV.com, for more information on your escape from ordinary radio. This podcast is being brought to you by WXAV 88.3 FM and WXAV.com. WXAV, bringing the best podcasts to you.
Hi, this is Peter Kreten from WXAV 88.3 FM Chicago, your escape from ordinary radio. And we have a very special podcast for you today. April is Financial Literacy Month, and St. Xavier University has the Northwest Community Credit Union located here on campus. And we're going to explore the topic of financial literacy with some representatives from Northwest Community Credit Union, who are also St. Xavier alumni here. We have with us the CEO of Northwest Community Credit Union. We have
Jose Garica.
And we have a student intern here with us as well,
Conor Murray.
And we have a brand new member of the Northwest Community Credit Union Board. We have
Ron Luce.
Gentlemen, welcome to this financial literacy podcast. Very nice to meet you all and have you with us here today.
Thank you for having us.
Now, Jose, you have some information that you would like to share with us and everything about Northwest Community Credit Union. Would you mind kicking us off with that?
Sure. Northwest Community Credit Union is a member-owned, non-for-profit financial cooperative that's been serving our community for decades, 87 years to be exact. Unlike large banks, our mission isn't to maximize profit. It's to help our members build financial security and confidence at every stage of life, especially during important transitions like college years and early career years. Our partnership with St. Xavier University is rooted with shared values. St. Xavier is committed to educating the whole person intellectually, socially, and ethically. And we see financial education as a key part of that journey. Together, we work to ensure students don't just graduate with a degree, but also with financial tools, habits, and knowledge they need for life beyond campus. Through this partnership, we focus on financial literacy, responsible credit building, and long-term financial wellness. That means helping students understand how credit works, how to avoid common financial mistakes, and how to make smart decisions now that we benefit them years down the road, whether that's renting an apartment, buying a car, or planning for future goals. At Northwest Community Credit Union, we believe learning about money should feel supportive, not intimidating. And partnering with St. Xavier University allows us to meet students where they are, provide guidance without pressure, and serve as a trusted resource during and long after their time at St. Xavier. Today's conversation is really about empowering St. Xavier students with knowledge, because when you understand your finances, you're better positioned to focus on your education, your goals, and your future.
Thank you for sharing that. I love the mission of Northwest Community Credit Union, and I really love how you're trying to educate the person in financial literacy, because that is such a topic that so many young people don't really know much about. So let's kind of like start unpacking that. What is, if you had to explain it to someone, what is financial literacy?
To keep it simple, financial literacy is understanding the importance of credit and how to obtain credit. Knowing simple things. Credit score, for example, is a key indicator of what type of credit you get and what type of rate you get. There are a lot of folks that have really good credit scores, but get into deals with high credit rates and interest rates. And if they knew the correlation between credit and rate, that they probably can save a lot of money.
And I think a lot of people just don't put that together and everything. I mean, like, I know what a credit score is and everything like that, but I never realized that it can really affect like your interest rate for like a loan you're going to take out, like if you're going to buy a car or buy a house or rent or things like that. Would you say the credit issue is one of the most untalked about segments of financial literacy, like something that we need to put more attention on? Or is there like another area of financial literacy that we need to like kind of focus on a little bit more?
Yeah, folks are really afraid to talk about money. Money seems to be a topic of, well, I don't need to talk about it until it matters. And sometimes when it matters, it's too late. And, I'll give you an example of this. You can be obtaining credit throughout your post-graduation. You got your first job, you got your first credit card. Before you know it, you got another credit card. And then before you know it, you have your third credit card. And the average rate of those 3 credit cards are probably 24%, which is the national average for credit cards. And you're making these significant payments, and you have a 720 credit score. You can probably get a credit card that is under 12%, especially at the credit union.
Now, when you're talking about like credit rates and everything, now that's if they don't pay the credit card off in full. Like let's say they have a bill, it's $500. You do have that option of spending, paying like $350, or you always get the minimum payment, which is $24, $25 and everything. So that's where a lot of credit card companies make their money, is on the interest of that, correct?
That is 100% correct. You don't know how many times I hear, I'm going to get this loan and I'm going to make an extra payment, or I'm going to pay more than the minimum. And what turns out to be the case, they make the minimum payment because life gets in the way, other obligations, and therefore you start paying the higher interest rate.
And that's usually when then people then start getting into trouble, is if they're just focusing on that minimum payment then.
That is 100% correct.
Okay. Now this is going to sound like a really dumb question, but I got to ask it. Credit scores, are they static or do they fluctuate? Like, can a credit score go up and down?
Think of it this way. A credit score is like a grade.
Okay. Your
grade is going to be excellent if you do the work and you study and you get an A. And you keep getting A's, your average is going to be an A. But if you don't do the work and you don't make those payments, for example, so I'll correlate it a little bit with the credit score, you're going to get a C or a B or maybe even a D. That's how credit scores work. If you make your payments on time, you don't utilize you're not using all your credit line, for example. So credit score is made up of several factors. Your payment history, your utilization, which is an important piece. If you get a $1,000 line of credit, you don't want to use the entire $1,000 line of credit because that's going to be a negative impact toward your credit score. Length of credit, so how long have you had credit? That's also in the mix. But the 2 primary factors is your payment history and utilization. And credit scores, similar to grades, you go from an F, which is not good, to an A or A positive, that's excellent. While credit scores go from 350 to 850. And you want to be on the higher end of that spectrum because the better the credit score, the lower the cost of borrowing.
Okay, interesting. Now, when you're using the grade analogy, I had to, of course, look at Conor, the intern here at Northwest Community Credit Union. So Conor, as you've been working at the credit union and working with financial literacy, what are some of the aspects that have really surprised you the most when you've been talking with students about financial literacy?
So some of the biggest aspects that have been surprising to me have been, again, just sort of touching on the credit score and making sure that people are keeping up with their payments. I think that particularly with students my age, the big things that we struggle with are making those payments on time and knowing what's expected of us and knowing what we owe. But I think also just from the credit union side is that a lot of people sometimes don't understand the difference between a bank and a credit union.
Jose, another kind of basic question for you. What is the difference between a bank and a credit union? So
I get that question often.
It's got to be all the time. You got to be really sick and tired of answering that question.
And, the word credit union sometimes is misinterpreted as you need to be aligned with a union. In reality, that is not the case at all. So the difference between a bank and a credit union, a bank is structured differently than a credit union. We're a non-for-profit financial institution, member-owned. So I'll get to that in a minute. Banks are owned by shareholders. So a very small number of people that have invested in the bank that is expecting a return from the bank. And so how does that happen? Well, the bank's going to generate revenue by charging interest on loans. They're going to pay dividends on their deposits. Let's just stay with that for a minute. They still need to make some benchmarks to pay those dividends back to the shareholders. The credit union, we have the same thing. We have interest on loans and we have deposits that we pay our members. The difference is that every single member of the credit union is the owner of the credit union.
Interesting.
And the return back to those credit union members are in the form of lower loan rates, and I'll give you an example in a minute, and higher deposit rates. Okay? So one clear example I can give you is, I mentioned earlier about the national average for credit card rates, 24%. At the credit union, the lowest rate we have is 8.95% for a credit card. Now, to put that in perspective, if you carry a balance, and let's just say it's $5,000, that's real savings back to the members, okay? On the bank side, you're going to pay that 24%. Why? Because they have to make enough earnings to pay back dividends to the shareholders.
Wow.
So in another way we can look at this is the home affordability. Everybody talks about home affordability today because why? Prices of homes are much higher today. The cost of building a home is much higher today. Interest rates are 6.25%, let's just call it. A couple of years ago, they were 3.5%, 4.5%. Well, I don't foresee that happening anymore. At least my opinion. I'm not a predictor of interest rates. It's just clearly my opinion. At the credit union, our mortgage rate is 0.5% off market rate for our members. That's real value to the membership. That is what we give back to the membership in the form of a lower mortgage rate.
Wow. So it's really beneficial then to get involved with a credit union and everything. Now, Ron, you're a new member of the board at Northwest Community Credit Union. Can you kind of share like how you then got involved with the credit union and became a board member?
Yeah, actually, my story with the credit union starts 10 years ago. I was a student here at St. Xavier University, and as Jose noted, he too is an alumni of the university, and it was right at about that time, my senior year, that the credit union in St. Xavier wanted to partner and open the branch here at the credit union. And actually, the reason I met Jose was because I was on the student advisory board that helped start the credit union.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So we all became members pretty much that day. Every single one of the students on the board. There was about 10 of us, and then 10 years later, and keeping up with Jose, and obviously going through life and various careers over the years, it's led me back to where I am now as a part of the board of directors, and it's incredibly exciting to now be a part of it in that facet.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's a really full circle moment.
It is,
and it's crazy because you don't hear about that connection at big banks. Like I'm not going to Fifth Third and having a connection like Ron's having with you, Jose. Now, for students who are listening to this podcast, where's the credit union located, and can they go in and do their banking then here at the St. Xavier location?
Sure. The credit union is located at the Graham School of Management here on campus. Conor, our intern, is the one that they'll see at the office. Our accounts, our membership access is available online. We have QR codes throughout the university to become a member and to take advantage of the benefits of a credit union.
That's wonderful. So be sure to go to the Graham School of Management. It's on 103rd Street, and you can talk to Conor here. Now, Jose, it's a tough market out there right now. with the economy and, trying to buy a house, trying to buy a car. I mean, everything has just really gone up in prices. And one aspect of financial literacy that is so crucial part of this is savings. How can Northwest Community Credit Union, I don't know if educate's the right word, but help a member realize the importance of saving and creating like a savings account and stuff like that, and putting a little bit of money aside every week or every 2 weeks?
Excellent question. The students and members of our credit union is always focused on borrowing. Mm-hmm. How much can I borrow? And never really focus on saving money so they can buy something down the road. At the credit union, we offer very competitive deposit rates, no different than a bank. I'm going to say we're a little better in that area, but it's really having students come by our workshops here on campus, stopping by at the credit union, talking with Conor on really learning about what options are available at the credit union, and get into the habit of putting $20, $25, whatever it is, after every paycheck, and just leave it in your savings account. Mm-hmm. And then build that and then transfer that to a CD to get a better interest rate. That takes time and it takes discipline. But I think that's something that most people today, younger folks, I'm going to say a lot of folks, not just younger folks, that just don't save. Yeah, they borrow. And that's something that we try to educate and let our members know that, maybe it's just not the right time to get a loan. Why don't you save a little bit more in your membership for a down payment before you get into a car loan?
And that's really unique, I feel like, where you're really like looking out for the person. You're okay with going to them and saying, this is an area that we need to work on. Whereas it always seems like with the bank, it's like, nope, I'm going to keep giving you more and more and more. And you're just digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper to the point where you're in real trouble then financially in that.
Yeah. The other piece you mentioned earlier, though, on the cost of cars.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when a car loan was $20,000, and that was a lot.
Yeah.
At the credit union, we're seeing a lot of, the average is about $50,000.
Wow.
It's really been a very challenging thing for us at the credit union to make sure that we can make affordability on car purchases.
Yeah.
Last year, we introduced a auto research tool on our website, so members can determine what car they want to buy and compare prices of all the inventory in the Chicagoland area or wherever they're at.
Oh, wow.
And so that gives our members the ability to understand what the price looks like and negotiate and get pre-approved at the credit union, mm-hmm. because the dealer is always going to try to sell you their auto loan.
Yeah. And
people don't realize that when the dealer sells an auto loan to their customer, they're making profit on that auto loan. And at the credit union, we basically give you the lowest rate. Mm-hmm. And at the dealership, the dealer is going to say, what do you want your payment to be?
Yeah.
And that's really the sell. And when you sign the documents and you go home and you see, oh, why did I pay 8.5% on this car loan?
Yeah.
My credit score is 700. Mm-hmm. At the credit union, you could have gotten that loan for 4.5% to 5%.
Wow. Now, from your perspective, because you mentioned credit loans again and everything, what would be an ideal credit loan for the average college student to like aim for? I mean, we know higher the better, but like, should we aim for the 800s? Should we aim for the 7s? Like where should we be going and looking for?
Credit score or?
Credit score, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes students don't have a credit score. Mm. Okay. It's when we pull a credit report on a young student,
yeah,
there isn't a credit report to pull. So it does come back to us with no credit score.
Okay.
And in that scenario, we usually ask for a cosigner. Mm-hmm. And then the parents will usually co-sign for their son, daughter. But if if you're a working student and you've built credit, you want to keep your credit score as close as you can to 700.
Okay.
If not higher. That will get you in the lower rates from any financial institution versus below 670, 680. It is a really what we call is risk-based pricing in the industry. The lower the credit score, the riskier the loan is. And so you always want to come in with a strong and know it. You want to let whoever's in front of you know, hey, my credit score is solid 720.
Yeah.
Okay, is it an 850? No, but it's a solid 720.
Yeah.
And know that what you're able to negotiate with that 720, for example.
So 700 seems to be kind of like that happy range that you want to go for.
You definitely want to have a 7 at least on your credit score. Sure.
Okay, great. Now, we mentioned earlier that the Graham School is located, credit union is located at the Graham School of Management. Connor, you're there quite a bit, and you mentioned there's a lot of like QR codes and everything. Where do the QR codes take you? Are they taking you to the website, other financial information? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that for us?
So the QR codes do take you to our website. I know usually they're attached to flyers that have information about, I know the ones we currently have up are for the student credit card, but the QR codes will take you to the website where you can kind of navigate through some of our promotions, tools, and options. Again, if there's ever a case where you need to talk to someone in person, that's what I'm there for in the Graham School office. I can either help walk you through the process, or I can connect you with a representative from the credit union.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good to know and everything. And again, the website is NWCCU.com. Now, Ron, as a longtime member of the credit union and everything, how has it really kind of benefited you in your life in that?
Yeah, I think the easiest benefit for me was Jose kind of touched on it. As students, we really don't have credit coming out of school. And, there are some, it's not totally foreign, but most often students are coming out with no credit score. So getting a credit card is difficult. I remember personally being denied a number of times. And because of having the access to the credit union, my first credit card was there. My credit card is still at the credit union that I pay on every single month and I use all the time. And between the score rewards that are a part of it as well, I think that's a unique feature. So many people get caught up in, either it's Chase or Bank of America and, you get 3% back on groceries or 3% back on gas. And although it's not a 1-for-1 necessarily with the credit cards at the credit union, there is a rewards program that is a part of it. And you can get some really cool stuff. There's everything from spa days to small vacations to something as simple as you can save 50 cents off on your gas at Shell gas stations, which is incredible right now. I use my credit card every time I go to the gas station for that reason. So, for me, I think it was really the credit union was such an asset as a young professional beginning their career to really start to establish yourself financially and again, have those resources and tools that you need in order to educate yourself.
And I think, Ron, you really touched on a really unique point because I feel like the general public just doesn't have a good understanding of what a credit union is. And it's literally just like a bank, only you're a part of it. You're owning it, and it's not off to like make money off of you. It's more so to help you and everything. That had been a huge shock for you when you learned more about what a credit union can do.
Absolutely. And, again, probably a little bit of a more unique case for me personally. My grandfather sat on a credit union board for a long time.
Oh, wow.
So I had early exposure to what a credit union was. But to your point, there are so few young people that really understand what a credit union is and what they're there to do for it. I think Jose made a great example of people hear the term union and assume that you have to be a part of a union in order to take advantage of it. And there are plenty of credit unions that are aligned with unions. That is very much a real thing in the world. But reaching out, learning about your local credit union, especially for the students here on campus, you are automatically qualified as a part of the St. Xavier body to become a member of the credit union and take advantage of all the great resources, tools, and of course, again, the membership benefits that differ immensely from your typical bank that you would go to. And especially now that the small bank is dead, right? Yeah. They're all being bought up by these large carriers, Bank of America, Chase, et cetera. When you can find a smaller institution, when you can find an institution that's membership based like the credit union, it's there for you as the member.
Just to follow up on those comments, the credit union has every product and service that most banks have. There isn't anything that we don't have. You can move money around from our credit union to another bank if that's needed, especially with parents with Zelle. We have Zelle too, so easy to move money. We have a mobile app like Chase, Fifth Third, all those other big banks, just as good. So you can pay your bills electronically. And, we also have another feature that maybe most banks don't have. We were talking about monitoring your credit. We have in our mobile app Savvy Money. What does that mean? It gives you a real live update on your credit score. And it kind of gives you a breakdown on how that credit score is determined.
Oh, wow.
And those components I mentioned earlier, your credit utilization, your payment history, the account mix, credit age, and then the one key thing that folks don't realize, inquiries. If you fill out an application for credit and you do it multiple times, that's going to have a negative impact on your credit score. But our tool on our mobile app lets our members know at all times where they stand. No need to go out, and you can also do this. You can go out and get your free credit report, but that's also available through the credit union apps, and we call it Savvy Money in the mobile app, available to our members.
That's awesome. And it sounds like with this app, you're able to do a whole bunch of other like banking, like you have Zelle, deposits, all of that stuff you can all do in the mobile app.
That's 100% correct.
If someone's listening and they want to get involved and they want to become a member of Northwest Community Credit Union and they're a student, how can they go about doing that?
We make it as simple as possible. You don't have to leave your classroom. You don't have to leave the university. You don't have to leave your home. Go to www.nwccu.com and click Join. In the application that you need to complete to become a member, just indicate that you are a St. Xavier student. It's in the drop-down, and complete the application. Simple process. And voila, you are a member.
And that is also for faculty and students as well, faculty and staff as well, correct?
That is correct. All the constituents of St. Xavier University.
That's wonderful to hear. So again, NWCCU.com for more information. Gentlemen, this has been a really engaging and thoughtful conversation. I've learned a lot from Jose and Conor and Ron. Thank you guys so much. Jose, I want to give you kind of like the last word. What piece of advice do you have for anyone listening of how to best take care of their financial literacy health?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll leave with this. Building credit isn't about perfection. It's about forming good habits early. And having a credit union at your corner makes the journey easier.
What a great statement to have. Jose, Conor, Ron, Northwest Community Credit Union. Again, NWCCU.com for more information. If you're a St. Xavier student, faculty, or staff, you can join immediately. Now, if someone's listening and they're not affiliated with St. Xavier, would they be able to join?
If you work or live in Will, Lake, or suburban Cook County, you are eligible for membership at Northwest Community Credit Union.
That's fantastic. Again, NWCCU.com for more information. Gentlemen, thank you so much for spending some time here with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this WXAV 88.3 FM podcast. Be sure to visit our website, WXAV.com, for more information on your escape from ordinary radio.